Hello, everybody. Rorree here. Welcome to my channel. We are starting a new series about empaths. Yay! All right, so um, I'm an empath, and I mean, I know so many empaths, and we have been having our in our little school or education center, we for the past few years we have been working with empaths and working with intuitives and working with people on their intuitive gifts and abilities and helping people to hone their gifts and abilities. And so we are doing a series on empaths now, and in the community in Roses, Lavender, and Sage, we will be going a little deeper into the empathic life. And when we go into our series in the community in Roses, Lavender, and Sage, we will be doing more hands-on and tips, healing, and things of that nature to really help you to elevate. For some people, you know, we're already doing some things because we've been doing it for a few years with some people that I've been working with. But I thought I would share with the collective some of the empath information. All right. One thing that I've noticed is that, like, when I've looked at some tarot videos, I've noticed that even when I've had tarot readings, like sometimes it feels like if the person, the reader, tapped a little bit more into their abilities, that the reading would like just go up 10,000 points. You know what I mean? And so that's one thing that I do. I help train people and help them to cultivate their abilities and use them in whatever path that they have chosen. So anyway, I'm going to get on with this. So today we are going to talk about different types of empaths, and I'm using a book this is the book that we're using in Roses, Lavender, and Sage. It's called The Empath's Journey. The Empath Survival Guide. So I'm kind of using this as a guide to deliver my own experiences and the training that I have had, but I'm using this as a guide for the work that we're going to be doing together. All right. So everything that we do is not going to come specifically from this book, but we're going to use it as our like outline for what it is that we're doing. So let's get started. All right, so we are talking today. We're going to just talk about the different types of empaths. All right, so there are three main types of empaths: physical empaths, emotional empaths, and intuitive empaths. So a physical empath are people who are attuned to other people's physical symptoms. They might absorb the symptoms in their bodies, and they might become energized by someone else's sense of well-being or mal-being. Okay. It doesn't say that here in this book, but I'm letting you know it could be well-being or mal-being. All right. I know, like, I know some people don't like this guy because you know, he's been arrested for some bad things, but I saw him before he was arrested for some bad things. And his name is John of God, and I can't speak to what he has done. Okay, I can't, but I do know that he was doing healing work. Okay, I do know that, and I do know that he was great at it. But if you watch, like when I was there, I remember watching a video, and that's when I decided, I was like, oh, hell no. You know, because like I was standing in this line getting ready to go through the current, and that's a place where everybody is like in a meditative state, and that's providing the energy to the other side where the surgeries are taking place. And so I was standing out about to walk in. And so you talk to someone and then there's like a translator because everything is in Portuguese. And so you talk to someone, they give you like a prescription. You need this, or go do that or something. I forget now. It's been so many years ago. But I remember standing there, and they have this TV like mounted on the wall, and the television was showing surgeries that he has done. And so it was like, oh my stars. It was so but anyway, the physical empath thing, I know he is a physical empath. I remember he was doing this one procedure on somebody, and like he's also called like the healer with the knife. Okay, so he would like take a knife, right? Like let's pretend like this is the knife. This is my little thing for my charcoal, right? But let's pretend like this is a knife, and let's pretend like this is a rusty old, dirty old knife, right? And so he would take the knife and like touch the person's skin with the knife, right? And the skin will part, the skin would just open. And I was like, whoa. And so he was in the video, he's doing this surgery. And so he touches the person, it was on their side, right? So he touches the knife to the side, and then the side opens, and like he makes like an incision, but he's not even like hardly touching, you know? And then it just opens. And I'm like, and so I'm standing there looking like, what the heck? And so he touches, and then he sticks his fingers in and like pulls some stuff out and puts it on the surgical plate. And I was like, you know, and then what was interesting was his side started bleeding. Okay. And I said, ooh, okay. So that was transference. Okay. So that's a serious example of being a physical empath. But okay, so another example of being a physical empath, I remember, I tell this story because like some of the stories I tell, you might hear them different times in different ways because they were impactful on my journey of learning about my gifts and abilities. So I remember I was at, I attended an institute, and we had to do a fair once a month, a psychic fair, a psychic and healing fair. And so, and this was in the early 2000s. And so I was doing my fair, and this girl came in. It just so happened that I saw the girl outside when I was coming in. And then some hours later, the girl comes in, and whose table is she at? And the room is full of tables. Okay. Whose table do they sit her at? Mine. So I'm sitting there. My director is next to me, and another person was next to her, because the way we were taught to read, we would read in a line. And so we would all come up to gold, and we would read in this line, right? And so the girl sitting in front of us, and so we, the readers, would be sitting there with our eyes closed, but you, the receiver, would be sitting there, your eyes would be open, right? You just be listening to us tell you whatever we're seeing or hearing or feeling, right? And so I remember sitting there, and at this time, I did not know how to control my empathic abilities. I hadn't learned that yet. I hadn't learned how to not feel everything that somebody else is feeling, you know, because it really could be maddening. So she's sitting there, and then we're talking to her, we're telling her. And so I started feeling like this pain in my chest. It just felt like my heart was dying. It felt like, oh my God, like pain, heart pain, you know. So I'm like, what the hell is this girl going through? Because whatever she was going through emotionally, I was feeling it physically. Okay. Because she was not having a heart attack. Okay. But she was in emotional pain, heart pain, you know, heartache. And I was feeling it like a heartache. Okay. So I remember tapping my director saying, can I talk next? Because I felt like I had to get out whatever this was so I could stop feeling it. Right. And I remember after it was all over, that's when we open our eyes, and the people talk to us, and like we find out how we were on point or not on point or whatever, or we get explained to us what the hell that was that we saw or felt or heard, right? Okay, so so after the girl left, I was like, look, that hurt. How do I not do that? I didn't like that. You know, I was like, I like that part. And so I was taught what to do, and I will teach you guys that when we actually take the actual course in this. All right, being an empath and living as an empath and living successfully as an empath and not losing your freaking mind. Okay, so anyway, so I learned how to not, be feeling physically so badly that now I don't turn it all the way off because, it is somewhat necessary for me to know. I oftentimes feel physically what you feel too. So, like, let's say I'm doing a healing, whether you're in my face or whether you are across the country, in another country, because I've done healing work for people in other countries, across the country, whatever. You don't have to be right here for me to do the healing work. And so I know, like, what I learned just through my own practice is that I might feel a pain, like I might have a pain right here, but you have pain right here. So I might feel the pain opposite of your pain. Okay. And so initially it would be kind of confusing. Sometimes it still is confusing, but now it's kind of like when I'm doing the session, I'll be like, okay, well, I'm feeling a pain right here. So you probably have a pain right here. And it's really interesting. But that is physical empathy. That is a physical empath. So you'll be able to feel in your body the emotions of somebody else's stuff. You'll feel their physical stuff. You'll feel their well-being or their mal-being. Like John of Deus, he felt he started bleeding from the other person. Because he did an incision on somebody else, he started bleeding. I think his might have been on the opposite side. He started bleeding in the exact spot, but I think it was the opposite side. After he's doing the work on this other person. So that's a physical empath. Okay. Now, emotional empath. All right. So with an emotional empath, you are like a sponge for somebody else's feelings, whether they're happy or whether they're sad or whether they're excited or whether they're ornery or whatever, like you can feel it. Like, have you ever felt somebody walk in a room and you could feel what they feel? Like you could feel like something. I remember one time my former business partner walked in the office. We had this office, it was like a long office. And so he had his executive desk and everything down there, and my executive desk and everything was over here. And so so I received people at my desk. He would receive people at his desk. We did two different things, but worked together. Okay. So there was a door here, and then there was another door over there to enter our office. Our office was next to another office and conference room and stuff like that. So you could either come in this way, which would have been right next to me where I sat, or you can come in through the other office, through the conference area, and come in this way through like a French door, right? And this is when I was in California. So he walks in this way and he walks that way to his desk. And immediately that he walked in, I felt something. And I was like, how you doing? And he was like, I'm all right, partner. And I was like, you sure? Yeah, I'm fine. And it wasn't until hours later that he tells me of this conversation he had with our developer, and the developer pissed him off, right? So I said, oh, that's what I was feeling when you walked in. But in his mind, he was fine, but he still was holding that negative energy that he felt from our developer. So as an emotional empath, you might feel what other people feel. I know at one point my empathic ability emotionally, the emotional empath stuff, was so on fleek that I didn't like going to the mall anymore, because I would walk by people and I would feel what they feel. I remember there was this girl and her energy vibrated low. That's how I would describe it now. Back then, in my younger days, where I didn't really understand as much, I hadn't learned as much, I might have called it negative energy. I might have called her satanic or something. I probably called her dark or something. But, today, I just feel like her energy and my energy just did not vibrate well together. And when her energy got in my space, it did not feel good. Okay. But Other people's energy doesn't belong in your space. And that's another thing. So I will teach you how to keep other people's energy out of your space and to release other people's energy from your space. Okay. So I remember she would come around and then I just did not feel good. So after a while, like if I knew she was coming, like I would leave before she got there. Or if she came and I see her this way, I would pack up so fast. I'm not kidding. And I would go out this way. If she was coming this way, I'd go out that way. I'm out, y'all. Bye. Because I couldn't deal with her energy. You know, it was just like, I don't like her energy. It does not work well in my space. I remember when I was in Brazil, we were in Brazil for a few weeks, I think like 3 weeks. When I was in Brazil, um, I remember the director of the program, she was fussing at somebody. I forget who she was fussing at. And she said, "Get out of my space." If I ain't bust out laughing, because you know how you say, "You better get out of my face." She said, "Get out of my space." And that's for real. When you're an empath, especially an emotional empath, you might need people to get out your space. And so I know that I've been this being forever, you know, and like when I talk to like this one young lady that's a friend of mine from high school, she told me, "Girl, you used to get depressed all the time." And I was like, "Really? I did?" You know, but now I see I was channeling other people's stuff all the time, you know, and I remember when I first started going to the Institute, they asked me, they said, "Do you talk to people about their problems and then after you finish, they feel good?" I was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Yeah, so much so that in high school, I used to call myself Dear Abby because that was a columnist. Dear Abby was a columnist when there used to be newspapers. And she would write and people would ask her questions, she would answer their questions. So I felt like Dear Abby. But they said, and this was one of my first sessions at the Institute, where they said, you're you have abilities and you can heal people, and they're talking to you and like they're releasing whatever's going on, and then they feel good afterwards, but then you notice you don't feel so good." And they told me what was happening was like they were like leaving their energy with me. So it was important for me to learn how to release their energy once they've left it with me, or to protect myself from the energy coming in the first place. So those are my examples of emotional empathy. And you know, it's real. You could be around people. That's why I like high vibration, you know, because I could feel it all, you know, and I feel it when it's coming. When I know when I'm about to be attacked. You can attack me with a smile on your face, I already know it's coming because I could feel it. You know what I mean? And I already know. And like, you can't tell me you're not attacking me. Like, let's say if I'm in a crowd, you can't tell me you ain't coming after me because I already know. I gonna feel it coming a mile away. I feel it, you know. And I'll be like, "Oh God, here we go," you know. And so that's like with the situation that I had. I had a situation where I was kind of defending a client, and um, I wrote a note, a clinical note, but I expressed how I felt in the clinical note. And then there was a meeting, and I was getting called on the carpet about expressing how I really felt in a clinical note. And he was telling the story. He was telling, well, y'all have to work on this and y'all have to work on that, kind of tiptoeing through the tulips. But I already knew he was talking about something I did. So I'm like, "Look, if it's something that I did, you can tell me. I am not going to get upset, but that's how I'm going to learn. So you could just tell me, that's how I'm going to learn." But I already felt it while he was talking. I knew he was talking about me. Or I I knew that I was one of the guilty culprits in, writing a note that wasn't as professional. All right. So now the next kind of empath is an intuitive empath. All right. So an intuitive empath, their intuition is heightened. They have heightened intuition. They might have heightened telepathy. They might have messages in their dreams. They might communicate well with animals or plants. And they can also contact the other side. So they may be a medium. All right. So now I'm going to break that down. Okay. So precognitive empath. So I'm breaking down the intuitive empaths. No. I skipped one. So I'm going to break down the 7 different types of intuitive empaths. And you can let me know what you think you might be. Like if you feel like you fall into any of these categories or any of these stories resonate with you, and maybe I'm an empath. Maybe that's what's up with me. If you suffer from depression, if you suffer from bipolar disorder, if you suffer from schizophrenia, if you suffer from a schizoaffective disorder, if you suffer from almost any type of emotional disorder, you might, even borderline disorder. A number of the disorders to me are not really clinical disorders. I feel like there's spiritual situations going on. And I felt this way from the beginning. That's why even as in the line of work that I was in previously, I just couldn't feel the whole DSM-4 or 5 because I felt like it was something else. I didn't feel like it was what was in that book. Okay. So anyway, I didn't feel like that was all that it was. I felt like it was more to the story. So if you keep giving people pills, that's just dampening their awareness, but it's not taking it away. The minute they stop taking a pill, they have the awareness again. You want to call it a hallucination or auditory hallucination or visual hallucination or whatever the hell you want to call it. Okay. But what is it really? Like, are they really just hallucinating, or do they have an ability to communicate with spirit? Okay. And I've known this forever. So I just couldn't vibe with that book, But anyway, whatever. It is the governing book. So whatever. Okay. So the different types of empaths, the different types of intuitive empaths. So the telepathic empath, they receive intuitive information about others in present time. Okay. So that person, they may, let's see, they may hear information about somebody. Like I might hear what's going on. I might, let's see, I'm trying not to mix them all up because I often mix them all up and I just call it, I'm empathic. Okay. So receive intuitive information about others in present time. So you may know what's going on with somebody right now. It's not like a premonition, but you might know right now, or you might vibe with somebody. You may be thinking about somebody, then they call you. Okay. You might think about somebody, then you see them, right? You may see somebody's name all the time because they're thinking about you. So they're thinking about you and you keep seeing their name pop up all over the place. You're seeing billboards with the person's name on it. You're seeing signs with the person's name on it. What the hell? But it's because you're telepathically feeling this person in present time. Okay. Now, precognitive empaths have premonitions about the future while awake or dreaming. All right. So you may have a dream about somebody. You may dream that something is about to happen to somebody. You may have a dream, whatever the case may be. A lot of people have dreams that someone died and then they die, not some people have dreams that someone died, and that's not that that person's actually dying, but maybe there's a rebirth. But some people actually um, dream, whether they're awake or whether they're sleeping. They might see something that happens, and it's really happening. Okay, so and it could be a premonition. You know, you might see something that's going to happen in the future. Um, I know I get I have that. This one is high for me, the precognitive one. Like I know what's going to happen. I call it absolute knowing. And I just like, if you look at my videos about the clairs and I go through the different clairs, you know, you'll see some of this information in the clairs. All right. So the precognitive empath is going to be more that person that has premonitions. Um, if you want to know something about tomorrow, that's the type of person that you would go to with that ability to be able to tell you what may happen tomorrow, whether there be a fork in the road, whatever the case may be, you know. And not everybody has that, you know, not everybody has that. So and sometimes you definitely have to learn how to use your gifts and abilities, because you got to learn what was that, you know. Like I work with people, there's a gentleman that I work with closely, and so he brings his visions to me, his dreams to me, his meditative experiences to me, and then we discover what they are together. Like, what was that? Was that premonition? Was I in a different dimension? Was I on the astral somewhere? Was I with what did I just see and hear? What part of that was real? Was this me in a parallel dimension? What was that? You know what I mean? So that's what we do. And what was I supposed to learn from that? Was there a message in that? Was this a direct thing? Was this like a parable? Like what was I supposed to get out of that? So this is what we do. But we do this more on a one-on-one, because you know, to help you figure out what it is that you're dealing with. Because as an empath, you may have many of these things, and like, okay, this just happened. What was that? Was that a premonition? What was that? Like, is that my feelings or her feelings? Is that his feelings or this feelings? You know, you're in a relationship. Oh my God, being in a relationship as an empath, and like you feel what your mate is feeling. Like, so if their feelings aren't too great, you're gonna know. And that ain't gonna always feel good if you already know that something's up. You know, I remember back in the day when I was a youngster, and I when I dated, if a person would cheat or talk to somebody else or something like that, I would feel it. I'd be like, something's going on. That's what I would say. So my friends, they know, because I would feel it. I'd be like, something's going on. My stomach hurts. Something's going on. And then it would come to me what was going on. I remember one time, this dude, I was dealing with this shady dude, right? And I remember he was pretending like he was in jail, right? And so he would call me like from a payphone or whatever, because he claims he got arrested because he was in the car with some other person, and there was a pistol in the car. And so when they got pulled over by the police, they both got arrested because there was a gun in the car, blah blah blah, right? So my spirit wasn't feeling that story, and I felt like something was fishy about that story. So when he would call, I'd be like, mm-hmm. And then like he would call on a three-way. Like, how the hell you do that? From the jail pay phones, how you doing a three-way? Like, really? Because like back then, if you would try to do a three-way, it would hang up on you. Like, I was just like I was just suspicious, right, of the whole thing. And so then I remember one night my stomach just hurt. My stomach hurts. Something's up. And so I called my girlfriend. I said, hey, come with me. And I ain't know where, I really ain't know where I was going. I ain't know what was up. And so I went down to where he lived. And I said, I knocked on the door and I said, is so-and-so here? He was like, nah, he's up there at the game. Okay, because you know they have like these basketball leagues, Midnight Madness, and all that stuff. So anyway, so he was like, he's up again, and I said, so he was here today, yeah. Was he here yesterday? Yeah. Was he here last week? Yeah. Okay. So I'm like, I'm getting my answers. Like this one a liar, right? And so then I go down there, and who's sitting out there? He's sitting out there with this girl. So the story was he was dealing with this girl. She was away at college. She had come back for a visit. So now she came back. He was dealing with me, but he had to pretend like he was faithful to her, you know. And so I was like, okay, this is interesting. So I was just like, hi, how are you? It was funny as shit. but but the what took me down there was my feeling. I felt it. Okay. I used to get the bubble guts, and I'd be like, oh my God, I got the bubble guts. Something's going on. What's going on? So I tell these stories because I'm not the only person who has had bubble guts or felt something and then their intuition led them somewhere. Okay. My intuition has led me to find people I didn't even know where they lived, and I drove to their house. Okay. I didn't even know where they lived. Okay. That's how good that intuition went. This is when I was freaking in my early 20s. Okay. So I'm just telling you. Okay. So with the precognition empath, you may know things and it just may come to you. You might not know all the ins and outs of it, but you might have a premonition for something. Okay. And don't discount your stuff. But I'm going to tell you, sometimes you don't understand what you're receiving, but that's why we're going to have this set of workshops for the empaths, because it's very important to hone that ability, because as you can see, just one part of it is very expansive. Okay, so the third type of intuitive empath is a dream empath. So dream empaths are vivid dreamers and can receive intuitive information. Hold on one second, I'm sorry. And can receive intuitive information from dreams that help others and guides them in their own lives. So this is a dream empath where you have a dream and you know you can interpret the dream, you can give the messages to people, whatever. And I'm assuming these are sleeping dream empaths. Okay. I don't necessarily have that. So at least if I do, I don't know. Like I know that when I'm in a meditative state, lots comes to me. Lots. I just hear. Okay. And so when I'm in a meditative state, if I hear information from other people, I might talk it into my phone. Or back in the day when you couldn't do that, I would always have a notepad beside me while I was meditating. So I would just like come out of meditation and write something. It would sometimes I would get messages for other people. It would tell me that I had to tell this person whatever. And don't let me not deliver the message. It would keep telling me until I told the person whatever, you know. So those type of things. So I have more meditative state type dream empathic abilities versus dream. The gentleman, I teach this one gentleman that is really great on honing his abilities, and he gets a lot of dreams, whether they be meditative or sleeping dreams and information. So anyway, so that's another one. Mediumship empaths can access spirits on the other side. So you would hear them call a medium. Okay, so a medium is a person who can hear and see spirit. Okay, that's one of my abilities. That's been one of the highest ones forever. And I used to be reluctant to this ability. I had a deal. I don't want to see the spirits. Like, I don't want people to be walking around and I see them and their spirits. I don't want to do that. And this was my deal. Like, I made a deal. I don't want to see them. Unless I ask to see them. I don't really want them to just be showing themselves to me. But I can communicate. I have done plenty of sessions with people who needed me to communicate with somebody, or we didn't even know that was going to happen, but I would communicate with spirits in the session. And that just happened. So now this is talking about mediumship with accessing spirits on the other side, but I know I can access the spirits on this side too. So like I can communicate with someone's spirit on this side without being on the telephone with the person. Like I can communicate with their spirit. So I think that's still part of being a medium, but that's not noted here. All right. So you've seen the mediums. Y'all know what a medium is. Okay. But so going back to people who have hallucinations, auditory hallucinations, or like they hear things or they see spirit or see stuff, like who's to say that they're just not a medium? That's what I feel like they are. They're just a medium, and there are all kinds of spirits. They're low level spirits. They're high vibrational spirits, all kinds of spirits. So they could be connecting with any old kind of spirit. I did some work on this young lady one time when she was a teenager, and I remember telling her mother all these things. And then she says, because they came to me, in a meditative state. And so I called her and I said, look, I have to tell you this. You may think I'm crazy, but here's the information that I'm told to tell you. So I told this long story about her daughter who had spirits around her that were not serving her highest good. I told her when they came, what age she was when they came, all the stuff. And then after I finished talking, she said, you would not believe this, but she just came to me recently and told me some of what you just said. And so anyway, I forget what I was talking about, but as a medium, those are some of the things that may happen to, the girl. Okay, so she had spirits that were with her, and the spirits, like she would cut herself. Some children, they cut themselves, and I don't know, it's about pain or satisfaction. I don't know. I can't remember why they do the cutting, but they cut themselves. But she would always cut herself in the closet in a certain spot, right? And she would go cutting herself. And one day, like a whole lot happened with the story, many different situations. But I remember I went there once to help with some healing for the young lady. And I remember she looked at me and I could tell that there was something else present that was not her. And I could see it when she opened her eyes. And anyway, I'm not going to go through that whole story because it was a lot and long, but we did something, I talked to the mother, I said, and I told her what was going on. And I talked to the young lady. She told me that the spirits were not going to let her go. They were going to kill her, all this stuff. Right. So she knew that the spirits were there. And then the spirits talked to me through her. And then I started yelling like, I'm not talking to you. And it was really, really scary and interesting and something else. And what she remembers was that I was yelling, saying, I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you. And I was yelling her name because I was not there to talk to some low level spirits. I was there to talk to her. And so it was like, whoo. And so I remember telling the mother something after I left. And then like within a couple of days, the mother tells me that she said, you know what, Rorree, you were right. And she said that night she slept with her daughter. And she said, silently, I was praying for my child, and she just was praying for her child. And then the daughter said, "Mom, will you stop praying for me?" And I was like, "I told you," because it's a long story. But so then the daughter, okay, so then the mother is like anointing the house with holy oil, right? And so then she goes to the daughter's bedroom and she sees a shadowy figure in the room. So she said she was like throwing the oil at the thing, and the thing went into the closet right where her daughter used to cut herself all the time. And so she kind of feels that the thing that's where it stayed, and I was just like, whoa, so her daughter was medium and she could hear and see spirit. And these spirits were with her. Now, they were not high vibrating spirits. These were lower vibrating entities that were with her. And but she was a medium. Was she crazy? No. She was cutting herself, but later we learned that they were making her cut herself. They made her drive into a tree. You know what I'm saying? So this is why it's important to know that you are not crazy. You just might be gifted and need to know how to hone your abilities, how to work with your abilities, how to protect yourself, how to cast out what is not serving your highest good. Because those beings did not belong with her, okay? But she was so afraid to cast them out because she listened to them telling her they were going to kill her. And even with that, she was afraid of getting help. So that's mediumship. Now, plant empaths. I'm not a plant empath. I have not honed that ability. I'm working on it. I have one plant that I am working with, okay? I am working with this plant. Oh, and I've had it for a couple years now, and it's not all the way gone. I am not a plant empath, or if I am, I'm doing a horrible job. I probably need to nurture my plants and really get into it, okay? But I do love nature. I love trees. I love nature, okay? Okay, a plant empath can feel the needs of plants and connect with their essence. I'm not there yet. I'm gonna have to learn more about that. But that's a plant empath. So if you are a plant whisperer, let me know how to tap into that. All right, the next one is earth empaths. Earth empaths. They're tuned to change in the planet, our solar system, and the weather. All right, those of you who are tuned to the moon's phases, if you feel some kind of way, that's kind of like an earth empath. If you feel the changes on the planet, when there are astrological shifts, when there are solar flares, when there are things that go on, do you feel those things? Does your mood change when certain things happen? I'm an earth empath, okay? I have a friend who's an astrologer, and I'd be like, hey, Carlos, what's going on? What's going on the planet? Because what's going on today? And at one point, oh my God, I think we should talk like every day, like what's going on the planet today? Because Lord, what was going on the planet yesterday? Because I was feeling kind of crazy. And then I would learn what was going on with the planetary shifts, not just this planet, other planets. What was that? Oh, there's a solar flare. There's this kind of shower. There's right? All of these different things happening in our atmosphere, and I would feel some kind of way, And there were days a lot of people be feeling some kind of way, but they don't realize that it's because of what's going on in our atmosphere. Okay. So that's an earth empath. Now, the last one is animal empaths. And animal empaths can tune into animals and communicate with them. I definitely am an animal empath. I've actually done readings for animals. Yeah. I've done readings for animals. Like I know what's going on with them. That's very interesting. I didn't know that I could do that until one day I was at a fair, and I've done two animal readings at fairs where, hi Rory, so and so has brought their little dog in for you to do a reading. And I'm just like, are you serious? Because back then we didn't have a dog whisper and all that stuff, right? So so I'm looking like, okay, all right, I'm gonna be a dog reader, and that was might have been one of my first ones. And I did a cat at a fair one time. It was so interesting, but it was like real, like like the owner would tell me, oh my God, this is really happening or whatever. Like the animals would tell me stuff about the owners. It would be, I was like, am I really reading an animal right now? Because I know, so yes, I'm an animal empath. And I know a lot of you guys probably are animal empaths, especially if you have a pet, because I know you can read your pet's mind. Okay. Because when I had a little doggy, her name was Queenie. And I would walk in and I would just know, okay, she's mad at me today because I came home late, And so that's why sometimes I would take her to the office with me if I knew I was going to have a late day, or I would leave the office, go get her, bring her up there so she could interact, because she would get mad if I was gone all day. Because my days would be like, they might start at 11, but they might not end till like 4 in the morning the next day, or 2 in the morning the next day, or whatever. And so she would get upset, because she like, where the hell you been? And I could feel it. And so what she would do when she was mad at me, she would urinate somewhere in the house, because she had her little doggy door, so she knew how to go outside. But when she was mad, she would urinate somewhere. And so she would see me see the urine and she would roll like she was a freaking people empath. She would see me see it and she would take off like lightning and just run out of the place, right? But anyway, so an animal empath is a person who is in tune with the animals and can communicate with animals, like Dr. Doolittle. Okay, so I hope that helped to explain in a general way what the empaths are. What are the empathic abilities like? Um, how I feel it relates or not to the diagnostic books out there. You know, that's why I don't claim, I don't want anybody else to claim either any of these diseases, because oftentimes, whether it be an emotional situation, that you get a diagnosis for, or physical, or whatever, a lot of times is feelings, or it's spiritual stuff, you know, and 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 it, to me, they're gifts. You just have to learn how to use them, okay, and how to control them, and how to just be with them and not allow them to drive you crazy. So if you feel like you fall into these categories and you want to know more, you want to um, tap in, learn a little more, definitely join us in Roses, Lavender, and Sage right now. It costs you nothing to get in right now. However, very soon we are launching our paid component of the program, and that will be prior to launching the coursework that we're releasing in the platform. So you can get in right now, get a little, get some free stuff right now, get some free connections, get some free information, free advice, whatever, right now. When we do open the doors, it will not be free to even those of you who are in there. So I'm just letting you know now, like, this is kind of like just a taste, but we will be learning more about empaths and how to work with your gifts and abilities so that you can be wonderful, joy-filled, productive members of society. And I hope you enjoyed this. these little two tidbits. If you want to join us in Roses, Lavender, and Sage, it's only for women. And the link is in the description box, or you can go to roseslavenderandsage.com. It's spelled all the way out, all roses, lavender, and sage. It is a spiritually based organization. Not religious, but spiritually based. So you will see some spiritually based content in there. All are welcome, you know. We don't really get into political views in there, and I don't get into bashing someone else's faith in there. However, you can clearly see when you get in there what I believe, okay? But you can share what you believe as well when you're in the group. If you're a man and you feel like you need some help with being an empath, having any of these abilities, as you could hear through my stories, I do work with men. My community is just not for men. So just reach out, inbox me, DM me, whatever, and just share what it is that you need help with or whatever. If you want me to do a video or some content on something that you are needing some help with, just let me know. Just put a comment. I read all the comments, put a comment and say, hey, can you do something on this? And if I can't, I'll look for it for you. I'll research for you, you know what I mean? Or I'll find you someone that is good at that, So I hope this was helpful for you guys. I sure had a good time sharing, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Ashe, ashe, ashe.